Hello, and welcome to episode 5A.1, the June 10th, 2026 Mini01 edition of Notes from the Aisle Seat, the podcast that covers the arts in northern Chautauqua County, sponsored by the 1891 Fredonia Opera House. My name is Tom Laughlin, and I'm your host as we bring you news and information about arts events at the Opera House and around the region, including interviews with artists and creators across the county. While there's not enough arts events at the Opera House to constitute a full episode, there are a few things coming up over the summer you might be interested in. And so this is the first of 3 mini editions we'll be releasing over the summer. June brings us the latest round of movies in our cinema series, so it was a no-brainer to get hold of Paul, the movie guy, Preston, to give us some insights into the upcoming June series of movies. The June Cinema Series at the 1891 Fredonia Opera House will be coming up pretty soon, the last 3 weekends in June. And with me, of course, as always, to talk about the Cinema Series here in this mini episode of Notes from the Aisle Seat is the movie guy himself out in Hollywood, a man who needs no introduction to this audience, Mr. Paul Preston. Paul, how are you today?
Greetings from the West Coast.
Excellent. Yeah.
It's no
Yeah.
surprise. It's another day of sun, Tom.
Oh, well, as of the recording of this, we've had a whole week of sun and beautiful weather here. So right now, LA has nothing on us. I got news for you. It's been
All
really
right,
nice out
well.
there. Yeah, yeah. But that's unusual for us. For you, it's every day.
Oh, yes, I know that. And that's why I'm here now, Tom.
Yes, I know. I know. Like I said before, Paul, Hollywood is the place you were meant to be.
Well,
So
even you escaped to Arizona, right, for part
yeah,
of the year.
I did.
So
I
I mean,
escaped for Arizona. Yeah.
snowbirds or whatever they call them. Yeah, they
Yes.
they they come to Palm Springs. They get, so yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, I just got to have that vitamin D in the winter now. Otherwise, I'll shrivel up and die. But let's talk movies, Paul. Let's talk
Please.
movies. All right, great. So the cinema series, as always, has 3 movies coming up, one in every weekend in June, except for the first weekend. And let's take them in order. The first one is I don't know quite whether to call it a biopic or what, but it's Michael, the story of the early period in Michael Jackson's career as an entertainer. So um, give us your take on this one, right up.
Yeah, I'd call it a biopic. They're tougher to do than a movie like, Selma, which is not a story of MLK, but it's a story about a moment of MLK. It's so those can sometimes dig deeper and or Steve Jobs was another one that showed like 3 points in his life, the release of 3 huge tech items that he was behind, and you see his personal life throughout all that. It's tougher to do this one. So I'm not surprised they cut his life in half. Yeah, you're correct. This covers Michael Jackson's growing up in Gary, Indiana, rising to fame with the Jackson 5. His father, Joe Jackson, beat him and unfairly was tyrannical with the kids, pushing them unreasonably. He's really the villain of this movie, Joe Jackson, Michael's father, because they cover the Jacksons from 1960, well, mostly Michael, of course, from 1960s up till 1987 and the release of his album Bad. So they stop right before it got really weird and allegedly illegal. So for Michael fans and for anyone else watching this, you get all the good stuff: Motown, the music, the dancing, etc. The film's produced by the Jackson family, so it shows being Michael being sweet to the fans, fair and balanced with his fellow dancers. Gets a little weird because, of course, he lives with a chimp and a llama and a giraffe. But the real life weird got weirder than that, I suppose. So, sequel? Maybe. We'll see. This one made like $860 million at the box office. So, I wouldn't be shocked if they go back and address the second one. But, any sort of cleansing of his life, his story with this one, they got to get real curious. I'm real curious to see how they would do that with the second half of his life.
Well,
But let's cut to this film. Yeah.
let's cut. No, continue. Go ahead. I'll
Oh,
let you
well,
finish.
Jafar Jackson plays Michael. That's his nephew, and he
Yeah.
does a fantastic impersonation of Michael. The hardest part is getting those moves down. They were so unique, and you've seen Michael Jackson impersonators in Vegas or whatever. The proverbial you, Tom.
Mhm.
Uh,
Yes.
so Jafar Jackson has done that. Um, with the choreographers of this movie and with Jafar's moves, they get all that stuff down. You don't even blink or question it. You watching Jafar and you're thinking Michael Jackson's performing, which is really cool. But of course, the question is he a great impersonation or is there a real performance there? And I'm happy to report, yes, he's quite good. In the Michael never had any rage issues or like that kind of stuff that you have to deal with other biopics.
Hmm.
He was real reserved and quiet and that kind of stuff and childlike. So, but that's a form of acting as well without having to go to real extremes. And he was good. Coleman Domingo is having a moment. He plays Joe Jackson. He's great, almost unrecognizable. And I love seeing the actor Lorenz Tate, if you know him from Menace to Society and Love Jones. He plays Barry Gordy. He's a very good actor, and it's been a minute since I've seen him, so I was happy to see them in this. But
Berry
you know,
Gordy was the big Motown producer, just to be clear.
correct, and he comes off looking good in this movie too, and as I imagine he was. I've never heard like real stories about him being nuts or anything. So uh, it made, as I mentioned, $860 million. So we're showing again that original film, I guess, of sorts can be a hit. It's not this isn't a franchise thing like Avengers or Star Wars or the usual things that make a bazillion dollars. In fact, this is ending up being the third highest biographical film of all time behind Oppenheimer and Bohemian Rhapsody.
Wow.
Um, and speaking of Bohemian Rhapsody, my problem with biopics sometimes is, I guess I already knew Michael Jackson was weird. It doesn't shy away from his eccentricities. Um, so I guess as they said in The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance, print the legend. So that's what we're getting here.
Yeah.
But sometimes biopics just show you what a jerk that person you loved was. Oh, Hank Williams turns out was a druggy idiot, and then Ray Charles was a druggie, and Johnny Cash was a druggie, and Jimi Hendrix was a philandering idiot, and
Hmm.
you're like, oh, I worship these people, and you find out they're just total jerks. I go in knowing Michael's odd, he comes out being odd, but just a nostalgia run through the greatest hits of his career back in the 80s, with Thriller being the hugest thing on the planet, is fun to watch. And, Print the Legend should probably be or maybe even The Legend of Michael Jackson should be what this movie is called. And if you want to go see it, you're up for, like I said, that good nostalgia run through all the stuff that he was most famous for, I
Well,
guess.
well, it's very interesting. Well,
Back then, back then.
to me, the Jackson Five, of course, were top 40 radio hits when I was growing up. And Michael was the lead singer, but it wasn't about Michael Jackson. It was about the Jackson Five, all five of them, and carrying on until Michael finally was the clear talent that broke away. And I was always fascinated by his ability to be an entertainer. It's not that I really, I can't say that, I really grabbed onto his music as if it was a thing of genius. But the man had an incredible ability to entertain a crowd. I'm not sure I've ever seen anything quite like that up until he got weirder than weird.
Yeah, well, that's you're talking about what the movie is about, pretty much. So
Yeah,
yeah, I mean, the label helped extract him from his family, and of course Joe, his father, was fighting against that the whole way, and then that struggle in there is really part of the drama of the movie as well.
right. So let's move on to The Devil Wears Prada 2, which if Michael is not yet a franchise, The Devil Wears Prada 2 seems to be becoming a franchise. I think there's quite a gap between the original and the one now. So I'm wondering how they followed up with the whole fashion crowd over there.
Well, 20 years since the first movie and 20 years in the story too. They didn't shy away from time has passed and Miranda Priestley, Meryl Streep returns as the Runway magazine editor, and so they actually deal with things that magazines have to deal with. The shrinking of the magazine industry and AI gunning for everyone's jobs, magazine editors and journalists alike. So they deal with those things, which is good because if you're gonna bring it to the present, you got to handle what the present is dealing with. And literally everyone involved returned. And I know for a while they didn't want to do it. Meryl Streep was Oscar nominated before for a great performance as Priestley, and I don't know if they just didn't want to spoil it, but leave it alone, kind of as one thing. But I think it's probably also the end of the franchise. We wait another 20 years. Meryl Streep will be 96, so we're probably we're probably done. But Streep returned, Anne Hathaway returns, Emily Blunt, Stanley Tucci, who's the heart of this movie, by the way.
Mm.
Writer Aileen Brosh McKenna and director David Frankel. They all came back, so they found something worth, exploring again. And Tom, you'll be excited. Kenneth Branagh's in this one.
Yes.
Uh, in an unusual role for him. Usually he's the hero or he's the villain. He's got a good run at villains lately too in movies. But here he's a supporting role, just kind of charming. He plays Miranda's recent husband, so
Oh.
he's fun to see him in a little supporting part.
Hmm.
And Justin Theroux is a blast in this. There should have been more of him, but I'll take what I can get anytime he shows up in a movie. But the real thing about this is Tom Streep delivers again. Not just the ways it got her an Oscar nomination, she's actually drawing empathy here as well. Somehow the film balances that without Miranda having to lose her edge. Um, but the ongoing miracle of Meryl Streep, just like if you're walking the planet and you're not going to see the things that she's doing, it'd be like in 1592 London and not seeing a Shakespeare play.
Hmm.
Like
Yeah.
sharing the world with one of the greats. So you gotta go see what she's up to. And she continues to just always be at the top of her game, even on TV and Only Murders in the Building. She's playing a fun, loose character, but she's good at that too.
Hmm.
Like she was in Mamma Mia, as much as she can turn around and then be in The Post or, Don't Look Up and have a meteor role. She's just the best. So you gotta watch everything she does. And I know I'm grateful to know that she's had such a long career. There's movies of hers I haven't seen. So I have those to look forward to in my life. Tom, I have a reason to live.
Yeah.
So, but make no mistake, after Streep and Hathaway, the biggest star here is probably the fashion, and it made its way into the press tour as well. And the premiere for this movie was just done to the nines, So they make no bones about leaning back into that, and it paid off. Again, sometimes I come on here, Tom, and I talk about, spoiler alert or The Phantom of the Open.
Hmm.
What are these movies? People probably think, and that's what I said too when I went to see them. Both of those turned to be really good. So I love discovering these movies. But here is here's a time of the year where you're getting in Fredonia two of the biggest films of the year because Prada made close to 700 or sorry, $650 million. So these are two big summer movies that are playing in Fredonia. So go check them out.
Yeah. I mean, first of all, let me just say that everything you said about Meryl Streep, I agree with. There's nothing like watching a Meryl Streep performance in any way, shape, or form. And again, I always kind of, tease you about my age to a certain extent, but
Well, how do I get teased about your age? All right, anyway, go ahead.
because I'll turn around and say to you, well, I saw Meryl Streep on Broadway at the Cherry Orchard back in 1976.
Oh, see, I'm just
when
jealous of that.
when she was like, I don't know, 21, 22, something like that. And I said, well,
Yeah,
that woman can act. And now here we are. I'm 60 years later or something like that, and she's still
yeah,
she's still at it. She's still at the top of her game. I don't think she has a bottom of her game. I honestly don't. I mean, that's what it comes down to.
yeah.
I'm
That's why
curious.
I'm gonna run through her IMDb and watch them all. Like I'm sure there'd be no disappointments in there. Even if the movie's mess, she'll be great.
And there's an actor in there that I'm wondering. I see Lucy Liu's in it as well, and I'm wondering just about that angle of the movie. What's her role in it? How does her character figure? Because I like watching her perform too. She's a very wonderful action adventure movie star in her own right.
Yeah, not here. This is not your Kill Bill or Charlie's Angels performance from her. It's dramatic and no, she's good. She plays a character of a very high status that ties into everything that I may involve spoilers if I explain. But she's very good. Yeah, and I feel like it's been a minute since I see her. Every time I feel like I haven't seen someone in a while, I just assume they're doing TV.
Hmm.
So I guess there's too much of that and I can't keep up.
Yeah.
But I feel like it's been a minute since she's been in a movie, and it was good to see her here. Her and
Yeah.
Justin Theroux both play, uh, related characters in that. So
And is that
in the subplot of sorts.
the same George C. Wolfe who was once the artistic director of the Public Theater in New York?
Oh, as acting in this?
Yeah, as
I
Paul.
don't know.
I
A
see him
fair
on the
question.
IMDb listing, so I was just curious to know that. I also see a Daniel Yu, and I'm wondering if that's Lucy's son. But these
Hmm.
are all things that people who want to go to the movies and they can dig a little bit deeper.
Tom, it sounds like you want to see this one. You might have to go to a
I
movie.
actually do because I mean, it's a Meryl Streep movie, first of all. That
Well,
you don't have to say anything more than that.
well, I also tell you, I mean, she's been on the rise. I hate to say Anne Hathaway's on the rise because she's been around for 20 years, but boy, she's good. And she's so good in a movie called Mother Mary that's out there now, which really stretches her, which really challenges her. She's very good in that. And so to see her play this part, return to the character she played 20 years ago, she just kind of it breezes through it, charming as heck. Rooting for her. That's what was really what you were doing in the first movie too. So she returns to do that, even though she's established, returning to Runway magazine. She still can't help but fall into the role of Miranda's second, and
Yes.
and then of course journalists are getting, the movie starts out where she gets fired from her journalist job that she went after leaving Runway, went and achieved all this greatness, but then journalists are getting hacked left and right now, as we know from 60 Minutes.
Right.
But so she gets fired in this, and again has to have a low status, which is a great place to root for her from. So
Yeah, well, she's an interesting actress to me because she went from sort of like, being a sort of a beautiful face and figure on the screen to now she has a little more depth to what she does when I see her every once in a while. So a
absolutely,
little more respect for her for that, for growing in the role as opposed to
yeah, and
just
she's an Oscar winner, but some people may forget. So
exactly. Yeah. So let's talk about the third one, which I don't quite know what to make of this. Every time I see the trailers on TV, I just I shake my head. I says, "Is this something I should see? Is this not something? Is this for kids? Is this for adults?" The Sheep Detectives.
the Sheep
And
Detective.
apparently there was a novel written about this too as well. Tell me about the Sheep Detectives, Paul.
Yeah, I found that out. It came out in 2005, so what didn't hit the realm of either of our childhoods. So I hadn't heard of it as a book, and I when it made it a movie, I hadn't heard of it until it came out, and I thought maybe I have. So the trailer was all kinds of new to me, Tom, and I went, "What, talking sheep, or what are we doing here?" But this may be the most enjoyable of the three movies we're talking about today. Uh, so you got George Hardy, played by Hugh Jackman. He lives this solitary life on in an Airstream trailer on his farm. He watches over his sheep, and at night he reads murder mysteries to them. He just they come around and sit down, and he just reads stories. Stay with me on the premise, Tom. It
Okay.
works.
Okay.
But eventually George is murdered. So the sheep they've heard countless murder mystery stories, and they think they can solve his murder. But naturally, they're challenged with things like not speaking English and leaving the farm. Like they literally walk up to a road and they don't know what asphalt is. They're like, "What do we do? How do we Can we cross this? What are we doing?" So, and then it becomes this utterly charming film about these sheep who have to solve this murder. Equal parts charm, and with a variety of sheep that have these specific characteristics. They're all individually drawn, which is cool. But
Mhm.
it's also very profound. It deals with death and sacrifice, and you forget when you see a murder mystery that there's a death there,
Yes.
and when it's someone that they because you're like, oh, who done it? But now it's like these sheep loved this man, and vice versa. And when you hear them talk, of course, they get to talk about that love that in real life you'd never know if the animals were in love with the farmer who was caring for them or not. He's just a sweet guy who loves his sheep, and so when he dies it's like, oh. And so um you got a great voice cast too for these sheep. They're all CGI animals drawn, and now of course the technology on that is amazing to where you kind of go, oh, those aren't real for a second, but as soon as they have this personality, you buy into that more than anything else, and you follow them on their adventure. But the voices include Bryan Cranston, Patrick Stewart, Julia Louis-Dreyfus, and Dreyfus plays the scrappiest of all the sheep, named Lily, who really wants to get to the bottom of the mystery. And there are funny moments when they rally the troops, but they're sheep. So like they purposefully forget things. Like they'll be like, let's forget that. Then as a group, they just count down to forgetting the thing they did. But we can't forget this stuff because there are clues to the murder. So Lily's always trying to like rally them, but they're dumb. Like a very funny recurring thing is every time they think they know who did it, Patrick Stewart's character just goes murderer. And by the like fifth time he does that, you're like, we're not sure yet, but he just like jumps in because they're sheep. They will follow, and do whatever
Right, right.
Lily has got them doing. kind of played out like a Pixar movie for me when I think, okay, is this gonna get to me? I'm watching, emotions, or I'm watching bugs or whatever, like which group of which subsect of society will be anthropomorphized this time and have emotions, and will I care? And then darn it, they get me. They get me every Pixar movie, and they got me in this one. Really sweet, really really cool reveals in the movie, and emotional moments towards the end. There's an actress, Molly Gordon, who appears halfway through the movie, and I really like her. One of my favorite actresses today. She's on The Bear, and she's in great comedy movies like Oh Hi and Theater Camp. Um, but Hugh Jackman, I just love this man. I mean, really one of our
Mm.
great movie stars right now. There's nothing you can't put him in. Drama, comedy, action, of course. He's the best. Um, and he just thankfully, when he dies, there's plenty of flashbacks, so you continue to get a lot of Hugh Jackman in this movie, which is cool.
Yeah, and don't forget
Um,
musicals. I mean, people forget Hugh Jackson
yes,
does musicals as well, you know?
yeah,
He loves
yeah.
them too.
And I saw him at the Hollywood Bowl last summer, and he played, he did stuff from when he did Music Man. He was doing Les Mis. He did a lot of Neil Diamond songs because that movie came out at the end of last year where he played a Neil Diamond impersonator.
Right?
Yeah, I mean, he's got a Tony, right? I think for playing Peter Allen. So
Yes.
he's extremely talented, and don't take him for granted either while you're out there.
Right.
And despite the fun you have, it's still a mystery, and it's one I didn't solve. So
Hmm.
that's good. I never got ahead of the movie. And, I like it when a movie's smarter than me. And and if there's a movie hall of fame for talking animals, I'd put this up there alongside Babe. It was really fun.
The sheep
And
detectives.
yeah, and good news, if you bring the kids, you talk about is it for families, is it whatever, they won't be talked down to. They'll be encouraged to level up to the film's height of emotion, dealing with broader, or sometimes, challenging emotional themes and intelligence. So I had a good time. I was like, you got to get into its vibe. It's cornball, and it's all it's British.
Yes.
So, it's
Yes.
not like hip and trying to get in with the kids. It's a simple, beautiful story, and I got right in line with it.
Well, I don't know, Paul. There's so few of them. They're so few and far between, and it really that's what I mean when I keep looking at the trailers and not sure whether it's something I would enjoy. But I think the more I watch the trailers, the more I say, that's if I want to go to the movies and sort of I don't know, do I forget about life for a while, shall we say? This seems
Yeah,
like the perfect vehicle.
yeah, that's yeah. If you one way to forget about life for a while, go see Billy Joel in a crowded bar on a Saturday night. But this is the movies, of course, always provide that, and yeah, this is certainly that. It's a fairy tale type of land, from a kid's story type of thing, and it is remarkable to find a movie that's relatively cynicism free.
Yeah, exactly. All right, I can't let you go without talking about the summer. Real quick, Paul, what are you looking forward to this summer in terms of releases?
Oh, Christopher Nolan returns with The Odyssey. I mean, what an undertaking. As soon as I heard he was making it, I'm like, well, he's the right guy to do this. So, and the
Yeah.
cast of Anne Hathaway again, and of course Matt Damon and John Bernthal, and just Bill Irwin plays the Cyclops. I mean, just it's going to be insane. I've already bought tickets, and it doesn't open for over a month because there's a great theater in LA called The Village, and it shut down like a lot of them have, during COVID and that kind of thing. And a whole bunch of directors, Jason Reitman, Paul Thomas Anderson, and a bunch of others got together and are reviving this theater. In the fall, they're going to shut it down for a year, give it a huge revamp, and reopen it. But they said, before we do, we got to show the Odyssey because we'll show it in 70 millimeter and it's going to be just fantastic. And that's, Nolan wants all his stuff shown on film. I know this one also he shot it entirely in IMAX, so I'll probably see it a second time on an IMAX screen. But I'm very excited about that. I love my superhero movies. Well, that's not true. I love my Marvel superhero movies.
Okay,
So
fair enough.
Tom Holland's been the best Spider-Man so far, perhaps. A good argument for him, and that he'll return and in Spider-Man Brand New Day at the end of July. So I'm excited about that. And uh, I mentioned Pixar, Toy Story 5. When I saw Toy Story 4, I think everyone went, well, it wrapped up with a trilogy. Why do we have Toy Story 4? And the producers introduced the movie when I saw it. It was award season, so people were coming out to hype these movies. And they said, A lot of people have been telling us it's a trilogy. Why are you doing another story? And he said, well, I think we wrapped Andy's story, but we hadn't wrapped Woody's.
Uh-huh.
So there was another story to tell. And then Toy Story 4 turned out to be excellent. So I can only imagine Toy Story 5 will also be great. Doubt Pixar at your own peril. That comes out in a couple of weeks.
Okay. All right. Wonderful. That's great to hear. So
Yeah.
good movies take us through the summer. Thanks a lot, Paul. I appreciate your time as always. And I hope to talk to you again pretty soon.
All right, I'm off to the movies, not ironically.
Not ironically. Thanks a lot, Paul. Bye bye. The cinema series shows films on Saturday and the following Tuesday evenings. Michael will be screened on June 13th and 16th, The Devil Wears Prada on June 20th and 23rd, and The Sheep Detectives on June 27th and 30th. Tickets are $7 for adults, $6.50 for members, and $5 for students. Available only at the door the night of the screening. And that's all we've got for this Interim 1 edition of Notes from the Aisle Seat. My thanks again to Paul Preston for being my guest. Be sure to check out his websites in the links below. And if you're anywhere near Hollywood or LA during your summer vacation, be sure to look him up for a tour you won't soon forget. And stay tuned to the 1891 Fredonia Opera House newsletter for more information on the Interim 2 and 3 editions. I'm Tom Laughlin, and until then, be safe out there and be kind to one another.